Quadruple A gaming has finally come to Battlefield.
Okay.
After a small donation of $70 directly to the Crown Prince's wallet, you too can have the privilege of playing the video game flavor of the month. Battlefield 6 takes place in an alternate timeline where instead of America repeatedly electing the oldest white men possible to be president, we instead get a DEI hire. The backstory is that the Diamond Dogs from Metal Gear Solid 5 continued their pursuit to silently becoming the largest private military contractor to ever exist. Outer Heaven continues growing until the cost of taxes in Zanzibar land are too high, and that drives them to Tajikistan, where they rebrand as Pax Armada, named after the Gaming Expo, of course. Meanwhile, and this is probably the most unrealistic part of the entire game, the United States decides they need to lower the defense budget. To do this, they start contracting out all their war efforts to PMCs, including PAX. PAX decides that this is a great time to start an all-out war with NATO and the US for some reason, so they assassinate the head of NATO and start bombing bases. Probably because of all the US tariffs, a ton of countries then just leave NATO straight up, and the US is largely on their own in this new war on terror that they definitely didn't create themselves like last time.
America deserved 9/11, dude. Fuck it.
It all starts in Georgia. Yeah, that Georgia. Our boys in blue are watching over an Amazon Prime AI supercomputer cluster when the attack comes in. PAX blows up billions in US taxpayer dollars in mere seconds, and our main character, NATO super soldier number 3705, responds by destroying billions more when they blow up the ChatGPT mega cluster that they were tasked to defend. If we can't consume more power than the small country by generating feet pictures in the Studio Ghibli art style, then no one can. Apparently, PAX also takes Watchpoint Gibraltar because soon after, NATO is ready to launch a counterattack and liberate the Mediterranean Sea. Here we're introduced to a new character and future party member in our elite NATO death squad. She can fly, she has eagle aim, and she even has her drone license. We're assembling a team. She airdrops in, microdoses some PTSD to activate her NATO senses, and then she goes berserk. The goal? Doesn't really matter. Whatever the case, we get to perform plenty of state-sanctioned violence, and that's as good a reason as any to join the armed forces. When we succeed in blowing up the thing, it's time for the full invasion. With the mighty hand of the US war machine, we come in guns ablazing on the Gibraltarese people. Fuck that tower, minus 10,000 population. We're tearing through the streets and houses, ruining everyone's day as best as we possibly can. Wait, that's the guy from the last mission that we only ever interacted with over the radio and who didn't play any significant role before now. No, don't kill him. Oh, dang. That sucks. Anyways, forget all about that. We're in Cairo now. We're here to extract a VIP asset for exfil behind enemy lines. Copy actual, over. The asset is like some tech guy that works with PAX. He's in too deep and wants out in exchange for supplying information, so that's where we come in. Seeing how successful the US were in the endeavor, the Egyptian government also outsourced their entire military and police forces to PAX, so we're deep in enemy territory now. It's supposed to be a stealth mission, but this is Battlefield. Stealth was never an option. They killed him, they murdered another CEO. How much senseless violence will be enough before we start protecting our minorities? CEOs need to be a protected class. It's not a huge deal for NATO, though. The guy copied his consciousness to a flash drive that's embedded in his thumb. Or at least that's the reality our NATO super soldier chooses to believe. And reality bends to his will. So we cut off his thumb and we'll rebuild him later. So anyways, now the entire military force of Egypt is after us, and we end up getting pinned down, and this guy drops the thumb. Big Boss Man is like, wait, don't get the thumb. And the guy's like, I'm getting the thumb. And then he goes for the thumb, and he gets shot. This triggers the PTSD NATO super soldier response, and we go on a rampage and kill everyone, including this helicopter in particular. But it turns out the thumb guy is okay. He was wearing plot armor. The thumb tells us that PAX has been buying up housing in Brooklyn to drive up demand and then plans to flip all the properties after converting them into open floor plans. So it's up to NATO to kill everyone within a 2-block radius and trigger white flight across the borough so that a good old American company can buy up all the property and enrich their own shareholders instead. To help with this, the United States Navy has sent one destroyer-class ship to the Hudson Bay to ensure our goal of 100% fatality. Except, it turns out PAX has double agents that infiltrated NATO, and maybe some of them are on board the destroyer and are planning on causing 9/11 too. This time it's personal again? So we go into the underground synagogue tunnel, navigate the booby traps, follow the tracks, find that Pax has Mad Maxed a subway station that's now going somewhere for some reason, so we chase them until we get involved in an insurance fraud car crash. The train gets away while we're exchanging insurance info, so then we do the most reasonable thing and blow up the Brooklyn Bridge to stop the train. Why is the train so important, I hear you ask? Don't ask dumb questions, we're all laughing at you. Something, it controls the missiles on the destroyer. What aren't you following? This is very serious. It's not like the ship can just turn off its Bluetooth or something. We're currently playing as this boomer-ass guy who is weak and has not injected the NATO super soldier cocktail infusion. He can't figure out how to turn off the dang computer. This is the computer that's going to be responsible for blowing up all of New York and bringing 9/11/2 to fruition. And he's out here calling nephew for tech support. And my phone stopped ringing out loud when people call me. And nephew's like, Unc, try flipping the switch on the side of the phone. So he eventually gives up and uses his invisible gun to just blow up the whole computer. And you know what? That works. Oh wait, no it doesn't. There goes the Brooklyn Bridge. Yeah, I knew the first bridge we blew up was the Manhattan Bridge the whole time. The YouTube comment you left is wrong and dumb, and you should have watched the whole video first. Fuck you. And fuck that building, that's another 100,000 lives. Despite all of this, housing prices are still too high in Brooklyn. So, Pax escalates by trying to unalive the president in Minecraft, who decided, while knowing fully about the ongoing operation, that he was going to hang out down the street to chill and shit. Budget cuts stripped the presidential motorcade down to just a single car, so of course they're in trouble and pinned down. So we go help him out, then go to the rooftop to flag down Marine 1 and evacuate the president, except a fleet of drones comes and just straight up destroys all the helicopters. If I was in charge of PAX, I would have waited for like 25 more seconds, then the president would have been on board, but you know, whatever. So we get drafted to the drone counteroffensive front, which sounds bad, but it's really not. The PAX guys bought the wrong model drones and they can only move at like 5 miles per hour, so. But hey, any excuse to blow up public infrastructure. Land didn't work. Air didn't work. So now, we're using water to get the president to safety. Except, the first boat gets blown up. So the president then makes the gigabrain tactical decision to get on a second boat. Pax sincerely didn't see that coming, and so they get away to safety. See ya, Mr. President. Except, for our baby cuck leader, this whole situation is personal. Not because he's from New York or America, or because he has moral convictions against political violence or mass murder, but instead, it's personal because he knows the bad guy at PAX that headed this whole operation. Anyways, because I went out of bounds and left the mission area at this part, the bad guy gets the jump on me. Otherwise, as a NATO super soldier, we would have vaporized him instantly on sight. Karen comes to save the day as backup, except, oh dang, the bad guy also has backup. And then our leader dies. The good news is that this concentrated PTSD XP drop levels up our main character to NATO Super Saiyan 3, making him now capable of destroying planets with his mind. We now take a break from our coverage of 9/11/2 to take a look at the situation unfolding in Egypt. You know, they had to give us a tank level, so now we're playing as that dude that drove us around in Cairo and who didn't do anything else. He's leading a rebellion against PAX, I guess? Anyways, there's this Black Hawk Down Call of Duty 4 sequence where we gotta go save the helicopter pilot that crash lands, and then the level just kind of ends as soon as we find him, and none of the characters are ever mentioned again, so. Anyways, now that the war on terror has come home again, it's time for history to continue repeating itself, and for us to take it back to a nation that has nothing to do with this situation at hand. Tajikistan
now has weapons of mass destruction.
We're the first wave in, dropped in to take out some anti-air defenses so the rest of NATO can come in and sit on the bleachers at the away game while we then single-handedly destroy all the terrorists. But uh-oh, the situation does not go as planned, and the air defenses aren't disabled even though we blew them up, I guess? So, well, don't worry about it, you know what that means. That's right, war crimes. We blow up an entire dam that floods all the air defenses, drowns 500,000 citizens, and decimates so much infrastructure that the Tajikistan state government collapses, including enough destroyed farmland to cause a regional famine and subsequent international emergency for the next 5 years. The results of the destruction are visible from orbit. But we were just following orders. Anyways, with that, we finally get to raid what I guess is PAX's last major base. It's not really elaborated on or portrayed as particularly significant, but it's the last mission, so I'm choosing to believe it's important. We are tasked with disarming a bunch of NXC hypersonic missiles. I looked up what NXC means, and the Google AI told me Battlefield made it up. Our NATO Chads disable all their missiles without breaking a single sweat. But one of the other squads on missile duty forgot to bring their +5 explosives amulet, so now none of them have a high enough explosives level to safely defuse the bomb. And, well, they accidentally set off a nuclear warhead really close. Like, no survivors close. Of course, the NATO super healing perk protects our squad, but literally, no one else is so lucky. After a healthy dose of radiation, we go into the bunker and we find the big bad guy. He catches a round in the leg and is no longer any immediate threat. So, we sit around debating whether to commit further war crimes on him, and then our resident CIA plant does the job for us, so we don't have to dirty our own hands. The CIA sure loves their targeted political unalivings. To keep the combo going, the CIA then follows up with a bombing run over the base to presumably kill us too, because the accidental nuclear bombing caused like a 99% casualty rate, so who else is left? Luckily, we escape in a conveniently placed helicopter and live to see another day. And that day is today, actually, because we then break into our CIA handler's house to confront her. She's been running all the ops behind the scenes and has really had an insignificant part of pretty much the entire game, except pushing us to repeatedly commit various war crimes throughout our adventures. So in a way, she's kind of single-handedly responsible for all of this. They trick the handler into revealing further war crimes, including that she and maybe more of the CIA created PAX themselves because American public opinion towards certain global political situations don't match the government's opinion. So they needed a new war on terror to get us back on the same page. And really, that's a good thing. Let's think about everyone who benefits from this situation. The military-industrial complex, the wealthiest of wealthy people in America, and all the brave politicians who stood to make fame and fortune from all the events unfolding. Isn't enriching the lives of these few people at the cost of any other American lives and the entirety of the global South the real American way? Dying for a rich guy? That's true patriotism. Now that our CIA handler is folded, she's no longer any use to the government, so Mr. NATO is authorized to use his ult on her. A bullet in the face.
First blood.
What?
Oh, dude! Oh.